Hello guys, and welcome to a quick video with some general information about tanking as a vampire. The TLDR version of this video is that if you're a vampire, you actually take more damage than the tooltip in the character screen tells you. So if you're a stage 2 vampire, you don't just take 15% extra damage, you might take more than 15% extra damage. For damage dealers and healers, the difference between the tooltip and the damage that you actually take isn't massively different, but for tanks it can actually cause a huge damage increase due to a change in the damage calculation formula back at the release of update 21. Nobody in the tanking world has really paid any attention to this until now, because previously there wasn't any trial or dungeon with enough fire damage to actually kill you. But now we have Sunspire, which is filled with fire-breathing dragons. If you don't manage your vampirism properly, you're making it a lot harder for yourself. The basic change is that the vampire fire damage vulnerability modifier is now subtracted from your external sources of mitigation like minor protection, champion points, evasion buffs, etc., rather than being multiplied by it. To demonstrate what impact this has, let's assume 5 things. Number 1, you're a stage 2 vampire, so the tooltip says you take 15% additional fire damage. Number 2, you also have the Psijic ultimate slotted, so you have minor protection. Number 3, you have 20% mitigation from the Ironclad CP. Number 4, you have 12% mitigation from the Elemental Defender CP. And finally, number 5, you have an enemy that deals exactly 10,000 fire damage per hit. First of all, let's work out how much mitigation you get from minor protection and your CP. How we do that is we do 1 minus all of the sources of mitigation, so 1 minus 0.08 for minor protection, 1 minus 0.2 for Ironclad, and 1 minus 0.12 for Elemental Defender. Then we multiply them all together. That gives us 0.92 multiplied by 0.8 multiplied by 0.88. That gives us a result of 0.64768. That means you take 64.678% of the raw damage. If you do 100 minus 64.768, that means you have 35.232% mitigation. For our raw hit of 10,000 fire damage, you would take 6,476.8 damage without vampirism. I'm ignoring the mitigation that you get from blocking and resistances, because blocking and resistances have no effect on the extra fire damage that you take from vampirism. Using the old vampirism calculation before update 21, your mitigation percentage got multiplied by your vampirism modifier. So if you were stage 2, your modifier was 1.15, stage 3 is 1.2, and stage 4 is 1.25. So, in our example of being a stage 2 vampire, we have 0.64768 being multiplied by 1.15, which gives us a number of 0.74483. This means your mitigation went from 35.232% to 25.515% against incoming direct fire damage. For the raw hit of 10,000, you would take 7,448.3 damage. If you compare that number to the damage number without vampirism, you took exactly 15% more damage, as the tooltip told you so. Now, however, there is a new calculation in place. Instead of multiplying by a vampirism modifier, we simply add it on instead. So we have 0.64768 plus 0.15, which gives us 0.79768. That means for our raw hit of 10,000 damage, we take 7,976.8 damage. That's a 23.2% damage increase, not 15% as the tooltip would tell you that you do. With this new formula, vampirism causes you to take more damage the more mitigation you have. Nightblade tanks, for example, who have the easiest access to damage mitigation modifiers with permanent minor protection, 5 stacks of Grim Focus and Major Evasion to mitigate the AoE damage from a Sunspire Dragon's Breath attack would take 36% extra fire damage at stage 2, more than double the 15% tooltip. At stage 4, you're taking 60% extra damage rather than the 25% tooltip. This is a significant change, but I still believe it only really matters if you're tanking the Dragons of Sunspire. With other trials and dungeons doing much less fire damage, that extra percentage increase doesn't correspond to a meaningful amount. Of course it has repercussions in PvP as well, but I think it's fairly common knowledge already that Vampirism is a bad idea in PvP unless you have a specific need for something like Mistform. The spreadsheet that you see me using in the background here will be linked in the description of the video, so you can click the link and come and have a play around with it if you're curious how much extra fire damage Vampirism is actually making you take. Hope you found the video useful. Any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments section. Cheers guys, see ya.